If you're interested in a breath practice, you might be wondering, how do I choose a good breath coach? What are the things to look out for? What are red flags? What are questions that you can ask them so that you can test their competence and their integrity? What up, guys? My name is Casper at Casper's Focus. They call me the Breathwork Biohacker. I run the Breathwork Masterclass, and I want to talk to you about this very important topic because there's breath coaches everywhere. And not a day goes by that I don't see some ad on Instagram for some quick fix certification program that says like, here, watch these 5 videos and now you're a breathwork healer, therapist, or whatever. Right? So there's a lot of people out there who are fascinated by breath. They love to do breathing techniques. They might learn it online quickly. A lot of people just learn it on YouTube from some random guy on the internet showing them how to breathe. They do it for themselves and they have like these great results for themselves and they go, wow, I should totally teach this to other people. Now, of course, breath seems very simple and it can be a very beautiful mission to go, hey, this is meaningful to me. Now let me go and share this with the world. That's how I started. But there are a few things that people overlook when they start to spread and teach and guide breath work. And this actually has to do with safety. If you are facilitated or coached in breath by somebody who has not done their homework, they do not have proper coaching skills, they do not know how it truly works, you might put yourself actually in a bit of danger. And let me tell you that the vast majority of breathing facilitators and coaches out there do not really understand their work well enough to actually safely carry it out into the world. So here's a few things to look at. First of all, you want to work with somebody who has a strong foundation in understanding the physiological principles. Physiological principles, that means how does the body work, how does human biology work, and how does breath interact with it. And you might think that this is the most obvious first thing that you learn as a breath coach, but actually, for most people, it's not. Like I said, most people get excited, they have an amazing experience, they go, this is so simple, this is so powerful, I should give this to the world, and whatever they have learned on their first breathing session or from the internet, they just copy paste and they start doing it without realizing how this interacts with the physiology of the people that they're working with. Okay, so here are some questions that you can ask to a breath coach if you're considering working with them, right? So you call them up and you simply ask them, hey, this breathing technique or this session that you are about to facilitate, how does that influence my biochemistry? And just see what they come up with. If they give you an answer like, well, biochemistry, it's all fun and it's all good, but, it's not important to know, you just need to feel it and surrender. Like, yeah, well, there's something to that. And you definitely want to work with somebody who is intuitive and who connects you to your feeling and takes you out of your head. But you also want them to know the answer to these kinds of questions. So the big red flag in working with any coach, especially a breath coach, is if they don't answer your question, but they give you a bypass. So instead of just simply explaining how the breathing technique that they facilitate influences your biochemistry, they come up with some kind of a bypass. They go, well, I notice that you're really in your head because you want to know about biochemistry, but this is an intuitive breathing and blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's a bypass. That's a way of not answering your question and taking some kind of a high ground and already starting to coach you, even though you just are trying to figure out whether they're the right person for you. Well, this is a red flag. They're probably not the right person for you, or at least I believe that these coaches are not competent. Then let's say they do actually answer the question. Then just take a few notes and check them, fact check them. It's super simple, right? There's a lot of, for example, coaches who do strong, intense, therapeutic, hyperventilative sessions, and they say things like, yeah, breathe in as deep as you can, and you will take up so much oxygen. And actually, that's not how it works. That's not how biochemistry works. That's not how physiology works. Actually, if you overbreathe and you breathe very deeply, then you will actually lose a lot of carbon dioxide, making you unable to actually take up the oxygen into your cells. This is such a fundamental thing to know about breath, and there's so many breath coaches who do not know this. And trust me, I have taught many breath coaches about this, and I've always been baffled at how small of a number of these coaches actually understands this, right? So if they give you an answer that sounds great, like, yeah, breathe in a bunch of air, you'll take up a bunch of oxygen, just fact check it. Just go like, oh, okay. So you summarize it further and you go like, oh, so what you're saying is that when I do this breathing technique, this and this will happen. And go like, yeah, okay, great. And then you just check it, okay? Google it, because all the information about breath is out there. And it's a very important thing. If they give you an answer, just quickly check if it's correct. Why not? It's not a big deal. right? Or check with another expert, or check a blog, or send me a message, right? It's very simple to do. Now, another thing that you want to know if you do breathwork, intense breathwork with a coach, is whether they are trauma informed. So, of course, the most easy way to figure this out is to go, are you trauma informed? And if they don't know what the question means, then they're probably not. So being trauma informed means simply that this coach or whoever is the facilitator has taken time to learn about trauma and to learn about how this works and to understand how their breathing technique influences the body. So how this can somatically trigger an experience of trauma and relive it, for example. And they need to know about this information, because what you should know if you start to work with breathwork is that as you hyperventilate and you enter these very deep physiological states, there's less oxygen going to the brain. You might feel a little bit erratic or irrational. You might lose sense of time, and you enter a state within which really heavy, intense emotions and even repressed memories can come up from your subconscious, and they can become part of your conscious awareness, and then you'll have to process them. And just doing a bunch of hyperventilation and breathwork might help you blow your mind and bring these things up, but they will not help you safely and adequately process and work with these traumas as they come up. For that, you need a coach, and you need a coach who understands how trauma works. Ask them, for example, if they know about the polyvagal theory. And you just go, hey, do you know about the polyvagal theory? And what is your take on it? What is your opinion on it? Or how does it relate to your work? Okay, so you have biochemistry is the first one you want to know. Have they done their homework? And the second one is, are they trauma informed? And of course, if you don't know about the polyvagal theory, and this is a word you heard for the first time, maybe Google it, right? Because this is the most important thing that trauma-informed people base their knowledge of trauma on, is the polyvagal theory. Look up a cool video on YouTube. I could make a video about it later, of course, but just read up on it and then ask them this question: are you trauma-informed, or what is your opinion on the polyvagal theory? And listen to their question, and if it makes you feel safe, if it makes you feel like they're knowledgeable, like they're not just pulling something out of their ass or they're not bypassing anything, then they probably are trauma-informed, and they will be able to hold the space for you if something really intense does come up. And then a third and very important factor to check with your breath coach and whether they know about this is contraindications. You see, there's quite a few conditions, physical, mental, medical conditions that are contraindications for breathwork. What is a contraindication? It means if you have one of those or you have experience with one of those, you probably shouldn't do super intense breathwork. And there's some very basic, simple ones, like, for example, pregnancy, which is obvious, or some cardiovascular issues. But there's also some more subtle ones like PTSD or addiction or medication use, for example. So you want this person to ask you about this. You want this person to ask about your general well-being. Now, of course, a coach cannot force you to disclose any medical information. And this is why it's so important that they bring up the subject so that you have a chance to actually think about, like, hey, which things actually do relate to me, and look back into your own medical and health history and go, oh, yeah, true. Oh, actually, this might be a problem with breathwork. Thank you for mentioning, right? If a coach doesn't do that, or they don't even know about it, and you just go like, no, it's great for everybody. Everybody should do this. Everybody should do it every day. That's probably not very safe. This person probably doesn't really know the actual implications of doing breath work. So I've already mentioned some of the contraindications. I have a standard list that I send to everybody that all of my coaches use, that they always inform people about, right? And of course, if they don't bring it up, then just ask. Ask them about, hey, are there any health conditions, any contraindications, any medications, any history of mental or physical issues that might interact with this type of breathwork negatively? Now, of course, they might say no because they don't practice the kind of breathwork that has these kinds of contraindications. Okay, so a lot of people who are breath coaches, of course, facilitate really deep, intense, hyperventilative sessions, and the contraindications are especially important in those cases. But you might just work with a breath coach for athletic performance, right? And you're a healthy athlete, and this person helps you get better at your athletic performance. So there's no reason to assume that there's any issue because you're already healthy, you're already an athlete, and they only use simple breathing interventions that do not cause you to go into really heavy states of dysregulation physiologically, and they might not interact with any issues. This is, of course, possible, right? But the main reason I'm making this video is because there's so many people who are teaching intense, heavy, therapeutic, hyperventilative breathing techniques. And this is especially the group of people where you want to be extra careful, because there's a lot of well-meaning people who have great intentions and they're empathic and, you know, they're nice and they want to help and they've learned this tool of breath and they go like, this is really powerful. It's been powerful for me. I've seen it work for others. I just want to share it. And they do not know which medical or health conditions might not combine well with the breathing technique that they're offering. Now, I'm very sad to even have to make this video, because you would think that everybody who puts himself out there as a breath coach actually knows what they're talking about. And the problem is also, like I said, these are well-meaning individuals. They are empathic, they're intuitive, they might do a lot of work one-on-one with people, and they might be great at their work, and they think it's easy to integrate breath work. So it's not that these are bad people. It's just a lot of people have no idea what the potential dangers are when you do breath work. Like, you know, they know that you can faint and that you can pass out, and they often see this as some kind of a part of the spiritual process, of an emotional process, which it can definitely be, right? But I've literally heard breath coaches say like, oh, if you pass out because of breath work, it's because you have a difficult time surrendering and it's just your subconscious helping you surrender in that moment. Well, sure. Or you made somebody breathe too intensely, you massively dysregulated the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide, and now they had, intermittent and immediate hypoxia in their brain, which is an oxygen shortage, and they passed out, and now they bumped their head on the concrete and they're damaged, right? They're hurt. So it's very easy to overlook how powerful breathwork is and how many things interact with it and how many things you should know about physiology, biochemistry, and the nervous system to really be able to practice safely. So if you're looking for a coach, ask them a question about biochemistry, ask them a question about trauma-informed or the polyvagal theory, and ask them about contraindications. If they answer these questions well, which you can feel, right? You don't need to necessarily fact-check all their answers. When somebody speaks about a topic, you can feel whether they really know what they're talking about. But if they dodge the questions, if they give vague answers, if they give spiritual bypass answers, it's probably not the best person to work with. All right, so if you have any other things that you think are red flags for breath coaches, or if you have any bad experiences with breath coaches, then post them down below so other people can learn from this. I'd love to hear your comments on this video. So give us a like, follow the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.